really want things that show a lot of use, the patina of humanity, if you will. So when you look at these collages that I've done, you're going to see things that harken back to an earlier day and time. Things that go back sometimes 150 years, 200 years, but at least 50 or so, usually. But, and that's part of what I enjoy, is just the goodies you find. People writing things in their books and making their mark. And at the same time, I'm making subtle comments on humanity. I often show things I'm interested in or things that interested people in their day. I love books that have people's addresses in them. I often Google to see if that house is still standing in Connecticut or whatever. I'm a sentimental fool. I've always liked books, always. Do you want to share how much I like books? This is an old childhood friend of mine.
Joe and I grew up together, and I was 30 and he was 5 or 6 when we first met. And he had a lot of different interests, but one was he started a library for all the kids in the neighborhood. So in the summertime, we'd go upstairs to his room. He'd have these little cards and he'd check, write our names and check them out. And I don't know that I checked out many books, but a lot of people.
You couldn't even read.
But I still remember this library that he had for all the kids in the neighborhood.
So it's remarkable, it's ironic that here I'm cutting up books, and I'm still a bookworm. I love to read.
What is your real life job?
I'm retired.
We're retired from what?
I was with the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center for 28 years.
But not as a librarian.
No,
Isn't that interesting?
I was in marketing. But and I'm still in marketing, and remind me to tell you, I'll come back around and comment how I'm still marketing my art, or thinking about that when I make my art. At any rate, one of the things that I do when I make comments on humanity, or mankind, or humankind, is I often include foreign languages, because I like to remind people there are other languages other than English. There are other lands and cultures other than ours. And I'm going to make those subtle comments. I often put things in the collages that have feelings. People write things when they give people books. They leave behind their own imprints. For example, this one called Lipstick Traces. There is a lip imprint. Somebody's lipstick from who knows when. Hemp Hill something school library. But they either love the book or love the person they gave it to. I don't know. But again, the imprints, the patina of use fascinates me. Now, one important thing about humanity is how we organize ourselves. And I'm always interested in how my work is organized. And as you can see, I do a lot of work with grids, and also use a lot of lines, but especially in this show, there's a lot of grids and spectrums. And that's one way to bring order to an art piece, to bring unity, to bring a cohesiveness. And that's really important when you're getting together in an art piece. I'm not an artist that sits down with a blank board or canvas and just see where it goes. I usually get it in my head pretty much what I want it to look like. And not all artists do that. A lot of people, including people that do collage, sit down and say, let's just see where this goes. I can't do that. It's usually in my mind pretty much before I start, and it may change a little bit as I go. And I might also realize this isn't working, and just tear it all up and not do it. That doesn't happen too much. But usually if you work your way through something, it ends up okay. You're always hitting roadblocks on the way. But the grid system is important in many of these pieces. Does it remind you of quilts? What about
We just,
weaving? What about farming, different fields?
Oh,
You know, when you're in a plane,
airplane.
you know, it's a landscape.
I see kind of a, like a clinical or a real tidy, neat, like in a doctor's office or like in a hospital or something, how everything's always so pristine, thank you.
Okay, that's part of me too. I have to have things orderly. And I'm the type of artist who never leaves a mess. I've had more than one friend says, you're too neat to be an artist. I always put everything away, straighten everything out. I don't leave things undone. But what else? Do you think of anything else when you see a grid? Yeah.
I think of Jasper Johns, and he did a lot of works that had a lot of plays on grids. You know,
Yes.
Playing against the masters who used to use the grid.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought him up. He's an inspiration to me. And you know the series you did with
The
hatchets?
Actions, yeah.
Okay, I have a big piece, it's like 6 by 3 feet, that is, I forget the main title, but the subtitle is Thanks JJ, because it was inspired by Jasper Johns. I'll have to get that, you've never had that piece here. It's a very colorful piece with a black background. So, at any rate, yeah, that's true. That reminds me of Jasper Johns as well.
City streets, a map.
Exactly, yeah. In fact, that's an unfinished piece in my mind still. I'm still wanting to do a collage inspired by streets laid out like a grid.
Well, not only that, on maps usually have that A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3 thing so that you can find what you're looking for.
Right.
So, yeah, so it's got that grid overlaying
Yeah.
the map of
Yeah.
the city.
What were you thinking when you did this? You went a little crazy here.
Here?
And that's like, oh,
Nice compliment.
oh, I love it. Good girl.
I don't remember being crazy when I did it, but I think it's still back into this orderly OCD aspect of mine. I've done a series that are like this over the years, and they're very well received.
They have more of an industrial feel to them, like I'm looking at metal, you know, pieces and shards of metal.
I love hearing what you all see in these because, you know, that's what art is. It's not really complete until the viewer takes part and puts their interpretation in. It's not complete.
This piece appears to be mostly spines, is that correct?
This one here?
Yes. Which reminds me, actually, of stacks of books.
Yes. And that actually is pretty much the inspiration for that. Yeah, a lot of titles in there, yeah, exactly.
Tell them how you put one together. Do
How?
that Genesis on out.
Okay. I start with a piece of masonite usually. A blank piece of masonite. These are all on board of some sort, or else canvas panel, which is like a hard piece of cardboard with canvas over it. That's what I lay out on. If I'm doing a real big piece, I'll lay out on a piece and then I'll have a separate panel over here that I'll transfer. Because when you're talking about layers, it's very hard to paste it where it's laid out. You kind of have to do it by layer and without messing up. I also take a picture of my layout before so I'll sit there with this, looking at where did that go? Because things shift, and your hands make things shift, even after you get the glue on them. I have the idea, I cut the pieces, and I start putting it together. The one thing that I haven't mentioned is not so much with these, but with this, The background is book pages, and you're always finding goodies in that. This is some really old stuff, like this is somebody writing in 1887. This one I know is from the late 1700s. But again, you see the decay, the patina of human goods. So,
What glue or what do you
Okay.
put that is archival and get it so smooth? What do you use?
I've used Yes paste a lot. If you're acquainted with Yes, Yes, it comes in a little jar. That is an archival type. I also use Mod Podge. Acquainted with that. I've also used matte medium.
Golden?
Were you planning on doing a triptych with those, or did you just start one piece and then another? I think you planned it out
I did plan that out. Yeah.
all beforehand.
I'm not gonna make you all stand much longer. I'm just gonna tell you about one other grid piece, which is over in that corner. And again, what unifies that is you have all these squares that I think are 3 by 3, and then you also have the unity of all the red. Did anyone notice the title to that? The devil is in the details. Okay, so I'm gonna let you in on a secret today. That is a missing piece. I have it right here. So I did the piece, and I told you I'm still a marketing person. And when I finished it, I thought, okay, am I gonna put in this last piece? Do I really wanna do that? Because that's what gives it its title. But I thought, if I put that in, is it gonna hurt its saleability? Because it might be a little shocking. And so I haven't. We might vote today. Should I or should I not?
You should. Yes, I vote you should.
I have a question.
Definitely shock people.
There's something, the way you do this, that probably will keep me from doing it. How do you cut it?
That's what I wondered.
Because you got book covers that are hard and you
Right.
need a
I usually have calluses and bloody blisters
Yeah.
on this hand. I use poultry shears, kitchen shears.
You don't use a saw.
No, and tear up the book. Depends what kind of saw. But this is much easier. You can't use regular scissors.
No, a paper cutter, but that'll.
A paper cutter
Well,
is
Ten
too
snips.
dangerous too.
Yeah.
And I don't use X-Acto.
That's not,
Those
that's not.
10 snips, those great big huge hammer. I mean, scissors are big.
And knock on wood, I have never cut myself. Never.
Well, now you've got
I'm really careful. Okay, back to the missing piece.
Are we gonna be able to see it?
Yeah, I'm
So
gonna show
shocking.
you about it. Well, you're gonna decide. It was originally a good luck symbol. It was very popular through most of mankind's history and many cultures, from India to the American Indian. And then it was defiled in the 30s.
So,
It's a swastika.
could you flip it? I mean, the flipped one is,
Yeah, they're a little different, but the first impression. And this was from a book by Rudyard Kipling, and several of his books were read. They were published in the 20s and 30s, and on the front was a little swastika. It was the symbol from the publisher. There was a swastika used at University of New Mexico up until Hitler's time. There was a student group at Jefferson High School here called the swastikas. I mean, it was everywhere.
Was that a Navajo symbol?
it's also an Egyptian symbol.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's many
thousands.
I thought it was actually
It's Indian.
peace.
I think you'll
Pardon?
see it.
An ancient
Indian,
Indian
I'm
symbol of peace.
as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really kind of the origin, I believe.
No, they're different cultures.
Different.
The Japanese.
Yeah.
And Joseph, what were some of them the opposite? Like
Yeah, the way it's,
that was the opposite of the way Hitler put it, yeah.
so I should include it?
Yes, you should.
I think so.
I don't think so. I disagree. I don't think it should go in there.
So you wouldn't buy it?
You know what, I probably wouldn't buy it. Honestly, it would be more interesting, like if I saw it in a museum and go, wow, that's really
Right.
cool, but to buy it,
Right.
yeah, probably wouldn't.
Because
Because it means that you want to make a line
What
yourself.
about the size of your squares? How did you come up with this size that is kind of consistent?
Depends on how big the piece of masonite is and what is, I do a lot of math when I figure out these layouts and what will fit and how many squares, what size will fit, how many we'll have to do. It's just math.
And you've used music in the past, haven't you?
I have used music sometimes. Musical notation.
Yeah, manuscripts.
Any other questions?
Do you listen to music while you're doing this?
Generally not. Generally not.
I see some Inagata Vida in here.
Any other questions
Where
about
do you live, Justin?
process? I'm in Austin.
You're in Austin.
Mhm. Davis Gallery represents me there.
Do you cut as you go, or do you cut, and then start creating something out of piles?
Generally, I cut.
Yeah.
Setting up his palette.
And this book here shows some other pieces that I've done. And I'm just looking at this, for example, this piece here, I cut all of those C-type pieces first, and then I laid them out.
Because they're single pieces.
Your grid work always makes me, always gives me kind of like some sense of serenity, that's why I asked how you work, because I feel like you create like this chaos of piles and just badly cutting, and then it almost feels like you take a deep breath and then you start slowly aligning everything meticulously, and it's kind of like a manic moment of cutting, and then slowly just your heartbeat returns as you put everything together.
Okay.
I feel that like in all of your pieces, just in my mind, I see this kind of very hyperactive action of cutting and injuring yourself, and then kind of slowly pulling back to a peaceful place with the grids. I don't know,
Interesting.
it's very magical.
I
thank
see
you.
it backwards. I see it differently. I almost you remind me of this movie called The Cutter. And he's a master tailor. And I imagine you slowly and carefully and methodically. I don't see the frenzy. So it's really interesting. And that's what makes artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not frenzied, I'm just it's a solitary thing, art is solitary, but it's also a very quiet, patient type process.
Cathartic,
Yes.
maybe.
It's
Yeah.
very soothing,
Yeah.
relaxing, and the funny thing is that some of my pieces have, 1,000 or more pieces,
Yeah.
but I absolutely detested jigsaw puzzles. I never put one together in my life, other than when I was 4 or 5 and there were 50 pieces, okay. I'll do the 50, the 48 states. After that, I never graduated to more pieces, except my own. Okay, thank you so much.
Is this all right?
It's hard to get.
Cool glue, it may not stay very long.
Okay.
Why would I do that?
In charge of the kitchen for a long time, and even as
Oh, now you use demos too.
Well,
there was that included alcohol. But I always
okay.
always have like this meal.
Here.